everybody. How are you doing this fine Wednesday? Wish I could say I was doing better. I wish I could say I was doing better, but unfortunately, I'm grossed out. I've been reading this lawsuit about Vince McMahon. I don't know which one of you told me to look into it, but I'm mad at you, whoever it was. The man is depraved and deranged. This is disgusting. Oh my God. I can't even believe what I had just read. Oh, for those of y'all who don't know, let me fix my hair. I'm all disheveled. Headband's all crooked. My Lord. For those of y'all that don't know, Vince McMahon is the name of the guy who founded the WWE. It used to be called the WWF, and I gotta be honest, that last time I think I even cared about this organization was when they changed the name. All my little friends were upset. They had changed it from the World Wrestling Federation to the, y'all tell me, Federation to the World something Entertainment or something. I don't know. Basically, you know, the like fake wrestling that the people do, like The Rock and like John Cena and all that. That's like their organization that they, are in. And it's like not, I don't even want to get into if it's real, it's not real. There's debates, whatever, but it's not the same thing as, like a high school wrestling, if you know what I mean. As soon as you go to potty, I know. Actually, funny thing happened. I had gone live, or thought I did. There's like a button at the top that says go live, and I clicked it, and I did like talk for about 2 minutes. Then I realized I was talking to myself. So that happened. I had said some funny stuff about the trailer park and everything, and now it's just gone. Probably whoever got me hacked or whatever has the footage, they might post it. Anyway, so, oh man, the man is nasty. And I know some of y'all are the WWE fans and all that, and that's great. I'm really excited for y'all and stuff. And there's probably even an altar within me somehow that could go over there and enjoy it too. A lot of my family likes it. They like the NASCAR too. That's all fine and good. But I remember coming up in the trailer park, speaking of, and the next door neighbors, they liked all kinds of depraved stuff that I did not like. They liked Jackass. They liked the Clown Posse. And they also liked, among other things, this WWE stuff. So I would watch it from time to time with them. They all had their little favorites and all. So I have some cultural knowledge of it. But, from like 20, 30 years ago, whatever, however long ago that was, 25. Oh, man. Well, come to find out, there's all kind of allegations going on against the founder. And by allegations, I mean in this lawsuit. And y'all, I do need to... What? Done wait, what did you do before? Shout out Long Island in the chat. Oh, have you done that before? You're like, oh, hey, hello, everybody. Welcome to Long Island on. And then you realize 2 minutes in, you talking to yourself. That was me right now. Somebody said I talk to myself all day. So I do just want to let y'all know, maybe if you got the children in the room and things like that, I'm going to try my very best to, I don't know, keep it PG, I will say, but I just want to warn y'all for real, actually, not even being like, oh, no, there's some actually depraved stuff in this lawsuit. I feel physically sick. I feel sick from reading it. It's nasty. And again, I don't know if I said this when the camera was on or off, so I just want to reiterate, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. Everybody's, not liable until the lawsuits have been won and lost. I mean, I've had people lie and say false things about me in lawsuits. So just because it says it in a lawsuit doesn't necessarily mean that it did happen. That being said, I reserve the right to have my own opinion about whether something happened or not. And based on looking at clips of this man, we might watch a few clips of him, like some, PG rated ones after, because I did come across a compilation. And I mean, my personal theory is he's possessed by some type of entity that's harvesting off people. But girl, I don't know. Who knows? I don't know anything. Might just be he's a sociopath. I guess that's possible. Or maybe it's not true. We'll see. Yeah, no, it's nasty. It's bad. Brace yourself. If you need to go, y'all can go at any time. I'm gonna try there's no pictures, there's no images, but I mean, it's nasty. It's disgusting what's alleged here. And I'm not gonna go through the whole lawsuit. I mean, we'll scroll through it, but I'm not gonna word for word read it because it is 67 pages long. So I have put some stuff in boxes. Some stuff is a little bit redacted out, but all the redactions are from me. So if you would like to read this along yourself without the redactions, if you would like to read it without watching me, without watching this video, it is linked in the what's it called? Description box below. So you can click on the link in the description box. It should bring you straight to this page. It's free. It's available online. It's not, anything secret. So here it is. The color highlighting is me. Okay. So the plaintiff is a woman named Janelle Grant, and she is a former employee of the WWE and of, Vince, the co-founder or whatever. All these events all of the allegations in this complaint are stemming from events that happened between like 2019 and 2022. So fairly recent, within the past 5 years or so, this all happened, allegedly. She claims she is the victim of physical and emotional abuse, a certain type of assault, and also she does mention trafficking. Now, the reason that I decided to go for this specific lawsuit today is because it has so much in common, so many similarities to that P. Diddy lawsuit that we read yesterday, so many similarities to the Cassie lawsuit, so many similarities to stuff we've heard about R. Kelly, these powerful men in the industry, Brian Peck, the rest. It's a lot of similarities, and y'all will see. Or maybe you won't, but I'll show you what made me think that. Okay, so the person suing is a former employee and victim of all these types of abuse, including trafficking, she says. The Miss Grant is her name, Janelle Grant, filing the lawsuit not just to address her own suffering, but also those who are afraid to speak out. Okay, so the defendant is, like we said, a billionaire. It says billionaire in the lawsuit. Billionaire founder and executive chairman, defendant Vincent K. McMahon. The two met in March 2019 when Miss Grant, the plaintiff, was dealing with a hard time in her personal life. She was the primary caretaker of her parents, and both of the parents unfortunately passed away. So the way that the lawsuit describes it, this lady was basically left without a family and in the midst of grieving both of her parents who had passed away, who she was the primary caregiver of. And I've lost one of my parents at a young age, and I'm going to tell you one thing, the grief from that is absolutely and utterly debilitating. Maybe some people it don't happen to like that, but it is like something that takes you years and years and years to kind of even find your bearings about. So she met Vince McMahon, according to her, in the short aftermath after, her parents had passed, and she was still kind of grieving, trying to get her life together. Apparently the parents had a house, but they lost it in a bankruptcy. So she was basically just in a bad situation. She was in a terrible emotional state and also was having financial troubles. Okay, so McMahon, oh, sorry. Okay, so one thing that you're going to see is that Janelle's best friend, her closest friend in life, what happened to also be the building manager at her apartment building where she did live. It was you, Chris. I knew it was one of y'all. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just you. Thank you for the super chat. It was me who asked you to cover this story. Thank you. Art Imitate Life. Imitated Life. Oh, Art Imitated Life. Okay, wait. You're also Chris on Instagram? Because I was like, are you going to be in the live? Keep this. I want to come back to this at the end, or when we're done with the lawsuit part. Thank you for the super chat. Okay, so basically she's in a hard spot. She's living in this building. She becomes friends with the building manager at her building, or like some type of manager at her building. And the manager at the building had a connection with Vince McMahon, the WWE guy. So basically her building manager is like going to hook her up with an interview for working at the WWE. Fine, cool, whatever, a little nepotism, but not really. I mean, that's networking. That's how it goes. So sure enough, Vince agrees. So what happens is, and let's see, I don't know if it says it on this part or, yeah, she messaged. So the building manager messaged, they're mutual. The building manager messaged Vince to ask whether Vince would talk to Janelle, the now plaintiff, sharing that. And like, this is what I want y'all to really look at here, because I haven't seen anybody paying attention to this, but I think it's very important. When the building manager contacted Vince in the very first place. He shared a bit of information. And what was that information? That the plaintiff turned victim alleged had been through hardship and would do great things if given a fresh start. McMahon enthusiastically responded, hell yes. So, hell yes, he will meet with Janelle. Okay. McMahon befriended Miss Grant, giving her hopes of a new life with promises of a yet to be determined role at WWE. Interesting here. She's not interviewing for a specific job. She's just vaguely interviewing for a yet to be determined role. Again, that's not necessarily suspicious. Like, I could see somebody having, a lot of different abilities. Maybe it's not sure. Maybe we got to wait to see what there's going to be an opening. I can imagine there being a lot of legitimate reasons for this, but just something to note. So he befriended her and gave her hopes for a new life with promises of a yet to be determined role at WWE and showering her with attention and assurances along with gifts like a VIP experience at WrestleMania. But that seemed like a dream. But what seemed like a dream in the spring of 2019 quickly became a nightmare. And this is where I'll tell y'all to get off the exit ramp if you're of the faint of heart, because the allegations get pretty wild and rocky. Okay, as McMahon dangled career-making and life-changing promises in front of the plaintiff, he demonstrated an increasing lack of boundaries. During several meetings that were ostensibly about a potential job, he greeted her in his underwear, touched her, repeatedly asked her for hugs, and spent hours sharing intimate details about his personal life. He warned Miss Grant to keep their closeness a secret, or else rumors would lead to public trouble, and he added that while he protects loyal people, he had world-class legal resources on speed dial to deal with people who became a problem. As such, when he pushed Miss Grant for a physical relationship in return for long-promised employment, she felt trapped in an impossible situation, submitting to his demands or facing ruin. Okay. So during a conversation, so it's March 2021, during a conversation that day, oh, sorry. No, this is just the run through. Okay. I think what I'll do is, that's funny. What I'll do is I'll go through after the parties, because it's like the same ones over again. Okay. So let's start with the factual allegations here. Miss Grant's history with them. Her introduction to McMahon turns into a 2-hour meeting between potential entry-level employee and a billionaire CEO. Prior to having any involvement with WWE, she was dealing with profound grief following the loss of her parents. In March 2019, she remained unsuccessful in finding long-term employment, and the resident manager at her building offered to help her, suggesting she could reach out to I told you all this story. He responded enthusiastically, proposed times to meet with her. And the resident manager passed along the resume. Again, remember I told y'all just pay attention to the stuff they're focusing on. Again, at the head of the meeting, so before the meeting starts, the resident manager, this is the plug, right? This is the recruiter, in my opinion. This is the mutual. Advised her friend, Miss Grant, to be energetic, as McMahon is big on energy, and talk to McMahon no differently than she talks to her friends. So fine. She gave her some tips, some pointers. March 23rd, she arrived for the meeting, but it was at Vince McMahon's condo with additional printed copies of her resume, a black notepad, and thank you cookies. So why she's bringing thank you cookies to a job interview, girl, I don't know. It's not something I think I would do. What am I giving you cookies for? You getting me as an employee. You're welcome. Anyway, why is the interview at his condo? Couldn't have been at the headquarters. It's suspicious. Sitting at his dining table, I'm not saying her cookies are suspicious. She may just be naive, bless her heart. I'm saying, why is he inviting her to his condo as a first meeting? Sitting at his dining table, looked at her resume. They talked about her having common sense. She described the loss of her parents. So she describes to him that she is in a bad situation, that she has financial concerns and all that. She had lost her home. And then McMahon went ahead and similarly told stories of his upbringing, traumatic childhood, growing up in poverty, and all that. And he also said that Linda was his ex and was long gone. He added his marital status as an arrangement on paper for business purposes, and he lives a quiet, isolated existence. You can see why in a minute if these allegations are true. At the end of the meeting, he told Miss Grant that he didn't want to just give her a job, but, quote, give her a life, and that he would find a place for her at WWE. Stunned, she said she didn't know how to thank him for possibly just changing her life. So he's like, I don't want to just give you a job. I want to give you a life. And she's all excited because, again, she done lost everybody, lost everything, kicked out her house and all that. So at the end of it, she's trying to tell him thank you. And he said, I'll accept a hug. Nobody's ever required me hug them as a condition of employment. I don't know. Then he kind of makes some promises, whatever. As she's leaving out, he hugs her, and they hug each other or whatever. And he says something along the lines of, right here, you see, it's so good. Okay. Next allegation is he arranges for her to be hired by WWE while beginning to groom her for this type of exploitation. So that same month, a few days later, like a week later, the day before she was scheduled to meet with another corporate officer, who they're calling Corporate Officer 2, Vince invited her back to his condo for interview pointers. So the founder and owner of the company, the person with the control of the company, is giving you interview pointers at their condo for interviewing with another corporate officer. Just also unusual, in my opinion. Turn my little heater on. Okay, so it quickly became clear he had no intention of giving her pointers for an interview except one single direction. If the topic comes up during the meeting, Miss Grant could state that they had met through a mutual friend. During the meeting, he described a surgery he had on his knee by touching her leg. And then he stated that she can't let scar tissue build up inside her from trauma. He says, your vulnerability is a gift. So not only is that weird in and of itself, but it demonstrates, if true, that he did notice that she was vulnerable. He specifically acknowledged it, if this is true. He explained that people are intimidated around him, afraid to touch him. He's an affectionate person. He likes to hug and he starves for physical affection. Then he led her on a tour of the condo before hugging her goodbye and again whispering, quote, feels so good. So second time she's at his condo, he's kind of getting a little more touchy. He hugs her again, talking about feels so good. So the next month, April 2019. So this is just like the next day. That was March 31st and April 1st. So the next day, she met with this corporate officer number 2 at the headquarters WWE for a short time, but she hardly asked any questions, saying Officer 2 was figuring out where Miss Grant would be placed and then promised to be in touch again after WrestleMania. Later that day, she texted Vince and enthusiastically described her meeting with the corporate officer. She also commented on a dinosaur skull that she saw on Vince's office wall. And then he said, by the way, if you are a bad girl, the T-Rex will eat you. Sir, please. Imagine your old weird boss texting you this weird shit. On April 7th, so a week later, the plaintiff and the mutual that she had with Vince, they were together and provided a VIP experience at WrestleMania, including private transportation, black SUV arranged by Vince. Over the next several weeks, Vince invited this plaintiff to his condo on several occasions, each time assuring her that he would find the right position for her at WWE. So he's kind of like breadcrumbing her, dragging her along, like, oh, I'll get you a job. And she's having to come over to his condo and they're having to talk about it. For each meeting with him, she brought sample job descriptions she found online to review with him and demonstrate the types of roles that she might fit into. Vince listened to Miss Grant, asked her questions, and pointed out qualities that he described as rare gifts. So listen to the rare gifts: her goodness, vivaciousness, childlike innocence, and ability to be vulnerable. And then her lawyer writes in here, all things that made her an easy target. But this childlike innocence thing freaks me out, considering where this story is about to turn. Like, that he would want to do this type of depraved behaviors to someone who's childlike and innocent is nasty. McMahon also initiated long physical embraces with the plaintiff, repeatedly telling her that he trusted her, he could be himself around her, and how he had opened his home to her. During one visit to the condo in late April 2019, Vince did not greet her when she entered. Instead, he called her to his master walk-in closet. As soon as she turned the corner, Vince was standing there, emerged from the bathroom wearing only his drawers. Shocked, the plaintiff turned around and apologized, but Vince laughed and asked her to turn back around. Then he handed her a shirt and asked for help with the buttons. Vince reminded her he was working hard on her role and said he felt good about her taking care of him. That's weird. Around that same time, he also told the plaintiff that he would never forget how helpless she looked when they first met, and that he wanted to wrap his arms around her and assure her that everything is going to be okay, that her problems were in the past. And he also told her that he viewed her as a true friend. So yet again, if true, pointing out, acknowledging the vulnerability and the vulnerable state that she was in whenever he met her. And then he kind of tells her again, you can't tell anybody. Again, she goes over again, and he's starting to escalate his behavior. Now he's rubbing her hands, and then days later, she's contacting further meetings. She finally is meeting now with HR. Yeah, they still don't really have a job for her, basically. So one night, or a day or whatever, she's around him again. He leans close to her and told her to kiss him. She paused and gave him a kiss on the cheek, to which he sighed. So he's leaning in. He's like, kiss me. She kisses him on the cheek, and he's, that's not what I meant. And then he walked off to his bedroom and said that he wanted the plaintiff. She swiftly rejected his advances, tried to reason with him that he was putting her in a bad position. And then she pled with him to stop and think about what he was doing. He then begged repeatedly, simply to just hold her. He just wanted to hold her. Yeah, we've all heard this line before. That's all he wanted, was to hold her. Out of fear for her employment and his earlier implied threats about his legal team, she laid down in the bed next to him, but she kept her hands clasped, her ankles crossed, and she acquiesced in saying that he could only hold her, but nothing more. When she tried to make small talk about the storylines of the WWE, Vince suggested that she watch the next episode of Monday Night Raw and text him before the broadcast. After she agreed, he forcibly kissed her and began pulling down a strap on her sweater. She then sat up and said she needed to leave and had a lot to process, and she left. Next day, she's watching the Monday Night Raw episode, and she texted him to wish him well. She was shocked when he appeared on the show and texted back in the middle of the live broadcast. That was a very nice message. Made me smile, smile, smile. Okay, so I don't know how long goes by, but this is May. This is like a month after they met. And Vince finally texts her and says she will have a job that Friday. So that week, May 2019, she'll have a job. And then she was contacted, and they discussed her filling a role in the legal department. And then she got a call from the person she had interviewed with, and she'd been offered the job. So that was May. So 2 days later, Vince invited the plaintiff back to his condo again. So it's 2 days after she gets her new job in the legal department of WWE. He's inviting her over to his place. asked her to lay in the bed with him before informing her that he had ordered that corporate officer to offer her the job, even though a job description had still not really been firmed up yet. While incredibly excited to finally receive the long awaited employment and financial security, she expressed to Vince there seemed to be a conflict between his doing this and his warning that no one could know about their closeness. Right. Okay. This is a good point. So she's saying, all right, wait, dude, you forced, oh my goodness, thank you, not a cabbage head. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, it is difficult to see it as anything else when you look at this man in the face. The man is demonic. Like, I don't even, girl, I don't know. But it's okay. So he's saying on the one hand that he ordered someone to give her a job, even though they didn't even have a job to give her. But on the other hand, he's like, we can't tell anybody about our relationship. So Janelle is like, wait, which one is it? You telling everybody about it or what? I mean, I can't, but you can. What you ordered someone to give me a job? Like, just kind of weird, suspicious, seemingly hypocritical behaviors, seemingly conflicting behaviors. He appeared amused with this, replying, "It's my company." McMahon then undressed down his briefs while she remained clothed and began kissing her and inserting his hands into her pants without consent. Then he goes on to start talking about this other guy who he works with. And this other guy has been around from the beginning. He's part of the Titan family. He helped to build the WWE from a regional promotion to a global situation company and all that. He stated outside of the attorney, this employee was the most feared figure in the company. I'm sure y'all who actually watch WWE probably even know who this is or who are familiar with it. Beyond that, he offered little detail, but he did say, oh, this guy was in a similar situation with you. He had basically lost his family and now we're his family. So, this is a common grooming tactic for people who don't have a dad, don't have a mom. Oh, we'll be your new family. We're a surrogate family. It's all that family. It's Nickelodeon family, family, that shit. Okay. In the middle of this discussion, Vince leads her into the bedroom talking about, please don't stop this. Allegedly. Y'all can read it right here. During that encounter, she felt coerced into engaging in the activity because she was trapped in an impossible situation. She feared adverse career and personal consequences, legal retaliation if she declined his advances. She stated, and then he states to her, quote, "This is what I have been waiting for." That's what he said. Then he performed actions on her. And again, y'all can find this lawsuit unredacted yourself out there in the world for free. Then she asked certain protections be in order, and he responded, no need. He's, quote, clean. Feeling she was being used for his gratification, she went numb and was unable to make eye contact. He then flipped on his back and said this quote right here, which you can read yourself. It's explicit, and it was to demand that he do something. That she do something to him. Disturbed by the non-consensual encounter, she hoped that Vince would cease these advances. But the advances continued and left her to fulfill his demands or lose her job, which I might just have to lose the job, but I will make concessions here because she did just lose both of her parents. She was home, got kicked out of that house. She lost her home. There's a lot going on here that I feel like could explain some of her psychological state of not leaving at this point. But the obvious answer here is you don't want this job. But I could make concessions, like I said, because of her circumstances, if true. Okay. So by June, this whole fiasco had started in April. By June, the day before starting with the company, she attempted to shut down any further. She attempted to shut down any further physical contact or encounters by admitting to McMahon her unhappiness and concern, starting her first ever job in his legal department, no less, while in a physical relationship with the chairman and CEO. So she allegedly expressed some discomfort to him. She requested that they end any physical relationship while remaining friends to avoid any risks to either of them. Because she's like, look, dude, I don't want to get in trouble at work. I also don't want you to get in trouble. We're obviously not supposed to be doing this. So let's just not. McMahon refused, saying it was not ending, it did not need to, and that he did not ever envision it ending. He reminded her that he trusted her, reiterated that rumors would lead to trouble, probed whether her silence would be an issue, and brushed off her concerns that he was struggling with the feeling that her job felt unowned. Okay, so she had said, like, it feels like I didn't really earn this job in a way. And he brushed those concerns off. He told her all she needed to do was not tell anyone and that it just has to look legit. He then spun the conversation and told her to focus on the positives and embrace that her life was about to change, saying, "Isn't this what you've always wanted?" He manipulatively emphasized that she was about to start an adventure and gain a new family as a surrogate family for the family she had lost. Ultimately, her unsuccessful attempt to end further unwanted physical contact quickly taught her that her view on the matter was not relevant. Okay. So she starts the job and she was surprised to learn that not much work was actually assigned to her, struggling to even appear busy in the role. So she didn't really even have anything to do. So it seems like they just made a fake job up out of nowhere to cover for the fact that she was basically expected to basically be a sexual slave. And like, that is what it looks like to me. You will see as we make our way downtown. But in contrast, her colleagues were complaining about overflowing inboxes. Her phone only overflowed with controlling and sexually charged text messages from the chairman and CEO, reminding her both of Vince's power and his ever-present surveillance. So they had some issues, things happened. People started to notice, people started to treat her differently because they knew about it. And it says, but notwithstanding all of that, she took her employment seriously. But in contrast, Vince continued a pattern of sending sexually charged messages throughout the work week. Certain her employment depended on her continued appeasement and obedience to McMahon, and believing she needed his protection from this person in the office who is now being mean to her. She felt like she had no choice but to respond in kind. From all of this, she began to experience some symptoms, some side effects. She started having panic attacks in the office almost every day. They left her physically drained. She could not hide the physical symptoms of these attacks. And she texted the mutual that had hooked her up with the job. And she said, "You should see the way people look at me when I'm having a panic attack." And it says, while the coworkers noticed, no one dared get involved. So then the next section is about the coercive control tactics used to sexualize and dehumanize her. This part I thought was important. He no longer referred to her as a friend after a while, largely stopped talking to her outside of sexting and fantasy talk. Any non-sexual texts related to life and work were either ignored or given token responses like okay or yup. He began to degrade her, calling her his B word, hinting at fascination with having other people watch them engage in a certain activity. Additionally, the complaint details encounters during which Vince caused her to sustain physical injuries, including bleeding and pain from the forceful use of items. Despite her plea to cease any further of these type of activities, the number of encounters only increased, as did McMahon's physical aggression during the encounters. Again, alleged, all innocent until proven guilty, but this is what it says under penalty of perjury. Notably, when he was most aggressive, it was when he was using certain toys named after WWE wrestlers and performers. He named the toys so that the color of the toy matched the race of the wrestler. For example, a black one would be named after African-American wrestler and a white one would be named after a Caucasian wrestler. And in addition to his infatuation with pretending that other men were in the room with them, this was just another incremental step in desensitizing Miss Grant to this fantasy and eventual demands that she perform acts or have contacts with others within the organization. So it says here that he was infatuated with pretending that other men, including and especially WWE talent, was in the room with him when they were doing it. Like he wanted to role play, like pretend they were in there with him and them doing it together. During a David versus Goliath type wrestling match in 2019, the plaintiff shared with Vince her thoughts on the event, the draw of rooting for the underdog, and ideas for future events. He complimented her creative input, and she thought, okay, maybe he's starting to take me seriously. But then he went and named a toy after the smaller wrestler, the like sort of David of the David and Goliath, and attempted to sexualize the situation, which then made her feel like her input was actually just like diminished. By the fall of 2019, so this all started in spring 2019, so now it's the fall, so maybe 4 or 5 months have gone by. He frequently would press her for images and videos and content of herself. When she expressed apprehension with those requests, he would respond with assurances, "You can trust me." What, you don't trust me? Or question why she didn't trust him. He also took care to remind her of his power and influence, such as by flaunting a meeting with the Saudi crown prince in October 2019. So she took that to be like a threat. The next section is about him tightening his grip and discrediting her doctor and replacing him with one of Vince's own choosing. So in addition to these panic attacks, she started having a lot of symptoms from this high stress type of situation, according to her. Severe physical, mental, and emotional symptoms, including sleep disruption, dizziness, exhaustion, rashes, weight loss, hair loss, and migraines. In November 2019, so this is like, the end of the year, she had started in April, met him in April. Now it's November. She informed Vince that her doctor suggested her symptoms stemmed from trauma and ongoing stress. But then Vince mocked her and said, "Emotional trauma, my ass." The next day, that same month, he insisted that the plaintiff see a physician of his choosing. The physician is referred to as Celebrity Doctor, and the facility that Celebrity Doctor operated from is referred to as Alternative Clinic. So Vince sends this lady who's having like panic and stuff to his friend who's a celebrity doctor. The celebrity doctor starts to treat her. McMahon and celebrity doctor assured her that her bills at the clinic would be taken care of by Vince. And then when she started asking questions about her treatment, the doctor was like, "Well, we basically saved your life." And he remarked on how she was basically making progress because when he first met her, she couldn't even look at him in the face. My nose is so itchy. She couldn't even look at him in the face, but now she can look at him in the face. And that was supposed to be some type of like the celebrity doctor healed her. She even acknowledged having a relationship with Vince, her boss, during the visits, and the doctor didn't really give any reaction. He just told her there are many different paths to God and love. Who is this guy? I want to know who the celebrity doctor is. Leave it in the chat if y'all have, or leave it in the comments if y'all have theories. The celebrity doctor lavished attention, treatments, and products on the plaintiff, all of which were paid for under Vince's account. She was never provided with any receipts. When she inquired about certain treatments, the celebrity doctor challenged her on whether she trusted him and postured that if she didn't trust him, then they should just part ways right now. At the outset of her care with the doctor, each session lasted up to 1 hour. And this feels like Britney Spears to me right here. She would leave feeling exhausted from celebrity doctor's deep dives into her personal and work life as a, quote, coach who was focused on behavioral science. So she would leave exhausted. She was getting worn out at these doctor's meetings. Okay. So some time goes by, whatever. She's still being forced to do the things or being expected to do the things. And he's still telling her all the time, "Don't tell anybody that we're together. Don't tell anybody about our relationship. Play dumb." But all the while he's telling her that, he starts showing photos of her to people inside and outside the company. He sent a lengthy message to her describing in detail the circumstances surrounding the photographs. So he sends a long message to her, a text message saying, "Oh yeah, like I showed this referee, he used to be a referee for the WWE. I showed him your pictures and he left out the room to go engage in a certain act with himself. And look how cool it is. You made a perfect stranger very happy." She initially dismissed it as mere fantasy talk, believing he wouldn't actually do such a reckless thing, considering he's the one telling her to keep it a secret. But then she brings it up to him again, and his response was to assure her of the referee's loyalty to him. I'm like, no, don't worry, he's loyal. This sharing of explicit photos terrified Miss Grant, the plaintiff, as it illustrated Vince's sheer lack of self-control. It further panicked her that those private and intimate photos, which had her face in them, were being shared with complete strangers. McMahon enthusiastically messaged her that that referee had actually shown a friend. So much for loyal. He showed his friends the picture. The referee who saw her picture went and showed his friend the picture. Which marked the beginning of McMahon sharing her naked pictures with others who he encouraged to share with his friends or with their friends. Something had happened where there was a furlough. A lot of people got laid off at WWE, and Vince was like, "Oh, well, I saved your job. Don't worry, I specifically saved your job, and you could have got fired, but I stepped in for you." Yeah, like no wonder. This is what you're trying to. Obviously, you don't want to fire her. Shortly after that, he surprised her with the news he had protected her from a furlough. It affected a large number of employees. Emphasized he personally made sure she wouldn't be one of them, reinforcing her dependency on him, particularly after a majority of the support staff in the legal department was all furloughed. So she was one of the only ones left. Okay, now it's going to take a little bit darker detour right here. This is nasty. This is just so sick and depraved. It really is just nasty. Oh, it's nasty. Okay, so here's the title is Recruits Other Men and Forces Her into Trafficking. In May, so about a year or so after she had been working at WWE, McMahon had recruited an individual who he manipulatively referred to as his friend to engage in this with McMahon and Miss Grant. The friend turned out to be McMahon's physical therapist at the alternative clinic where she was going to the doctor. His doctor? This guy's the physical therapist, his friend. To induce her participation, Vince started referring to her as his girlfriend and sent her a large bouquet of flowers. She expressed apprehension about participating in the act with the men, and in response, Vince insisted that the plans were already made and suggested he might lose a friendship if she didn't go through with it. On the day of the scheduled encounter, she showed up to the condo, but reiterated she didn't want to go through with it. She expressed fear of being thrown around like a rag doll by the men. And doesn't this kind of remind you of the freak offs? Like how Cassie was saying she would be exhausted. She would need to get IVs. She didn't want to get thrown around. She would get injured, hurting, all that. It's like kind of reminds me of that. She said, I don't want to be thrown around like a rag doll. And after she clearly stated she wanted to back out, Vince responded by telling her for the first time ever that he loved her, stunning her into silence. His manipulative tactic resulted in the outcome he wanted, and he led her down the stairs to the bedroom where the physical therapist was already waiting to begin the encounter. Early in the encounter, McMahon, okay, this part, stop it. You're going to have to look at the screen because there's no way I'm saying this crap out of my mouth, literally. Oh my God, what in the hell? Look. I ain't saying this out of my mouth. But look. Early in the encounter, he immediately directed the plaintiff to lay down on her back in a begging, supplicating means like begging, humble, like subjugate, like inferior. This is so sick. He immediately directed her to lay down on her back. While straddling over her, he defecated on her head. Then he left the room to shower. But he instructed her to remain in place. That's what this lawsuit says. Put a red flag in the chat for that. I mean, what? Yes. Yep. On her head. on her head. Then he told her to stay there and he went and took a shower. With the filth in her hair, she had to continue performing for the physical therapist at the alternative clinic. So she had to carry on with that in her hair, and he went and took a shower. What in the hell? She requested protection. None was offered. The physical therapist actively continued. Then both of the men actively continued with it and directed her performance for an hour and a half while she was covered in it. Then following that encounter, the next day, he sent a long message that further detailed his fantasies of seeing her engaged in relations. And I can't even show the text message. I'm going to scroll past it. Oh my God, it's so sick. It's so sick. It's so sick. It's so sick. He pressured her into several additional encounters of the sort, in large part because she felt she had no other choice, especially after his comments that he had personally ensured she did not lose her job. Her subsequent run-ins with the physical therapist, she's going to the doctor and running into this guy. She's going to her clinic that she's been now kind of forced to go to, and she runs into the guy. She sees the guy in person who had participated in a sex act with her while she was covered in another man's feces. What? It was a reminder of how much was at stake if she didn't obey. McMahon controlled her employment, income, paid for her medical care, circulated naked pictures of her, and ignored her lack of consent for the first encounter. When text conversations would begin to cross over from his fantasies into reality, the plaintiff would attempt to avoid physical encounters with this physical therapist. She told McMahon there was no room for a third body. He became more sadistic, and his fantasies focused on control, such as choking, sensory deprivation, pain, humiliation, and group scenarios in which Miss Grant was to be physically overwhelmed and subservient. There's another text message here. I will not show, but this is a public lawsuit. You can go look it up yourself if you're interested. On one occasion, he instructed her, do not knock on the door, because if you do, I will something very depraved in the hallway. To leave no doubt regarding the dynamic of their relationship, he texted her this on one day, quote, I'm the only one who owns you and controls who I want to bleep you. A theme that was often reiterated throughout their involvement. The man said, I am the only one who owns you and I will control who I want to you. Allegedly. She sent texts to McMahon noting her 1-year anniversary and he ignored those. A month later, he reminded her about the far-reaching results of his texting pictures of her out to people. And he says, quote, by now, thousands of men see you every day all over the world, and they all want to bleep you. After he was all, don't you trust me? Don't you trust me? Now it's like, by now it's thousands of men have seen you. Around this time, he openly shared explicit photographs and salacious stories about her with WWE crew at TV tapings. And then there was a group McMahon also referred to her. I don't know what this means. Somebody was referring to her as fan club. They were calling her fan club. Vince exuberantly messaged her a, quote, truthful story of having just shared explicit content of her with a group of 12 men on the WWE tech crew and recounted the obscene details he shared with them. Again, y'all can go read them obscene texts yourself. Then they outline how she was physically injured. I'm not going to get into these details. She became very sick. Her weight was down to like 100 pounds. But then he started advertising her to others and told her that he found another person to join them. This was defendant John Laurinaitis. He orchestrated exchanges of photos by instructing her when to create certain content for this guy, Laurinaitis. But McMahon always wanted to stay in the loop. He always wanted to know like what she had sent, what, he had seen, all that. Shortly after meeting this guy, though, the plaintiff says she asked Laurinaitis, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Laurinaitis. She asked him, she said, am I the first woman who Vince has introduced you to in this way? And he failed to respond. He shot a look directly at McMahon, who quickly intervened by kissing her and initiating the encounter amongst the three of them. So it seems like it's possible this is just like what they do based on these allegations. Then again, she's asking for protection and they're like, no, we're clean. The days that followed, McMahon texted her that Laurinaitis had hugged him like a bear and said thank you about 12 times. In contrast, he messaged Miss Grant, thanks for the fun afternoon. On February 2021, okay, this is egregious. I will show y'all this text. It's not quite as crazy, not as graphic as the others. On February 5th, 2021, he sent the plaintiff a text to establish a schedule for when other men, including the physical therapist, this is the poop guy, the one who was involved in the poop incident, and Laurinaitis could engage in interactions with Grant. And she attempted to rebuff. So this is him right here allegedly saying, exactly, baby, he's the only one. So-and-so called me this afternoon begging to do some nasty things. Sorry. Give me another week, she says, and I'll be ready. I'm feeling more like myself. It's not great, but it's getting better. Tell him soon. I already told him, baby. By the way, Johnny wants Tuesdays, but not this coming one, and the occasional Saturday, but maybe I can shift it to Thursday nights. Johnny would like all of the above. Texts like this, a shift schedule, caused Miss Grant to suffer breakdowns over how her original hope for a new life had been reduced to an objectified and dehumanized existence with no way out. And this is bad. I mean, it's bad. This is bad. She was transferred to a different department, but she still wasn't really given like a full job title. And the person who was going to be her new boss in this department was Laurinaitis. So a guy who literally like treats her like that in these three-way incidents with her other boss is now her boss. So it's like double boss. In essence, she again found herself in a completely undefined role, except for the understanding that she would remain a sexual slave to be used and trafficked by McMahon within the WWE. Then he's like, promise to make me proud, show me what a good star you can be, show off like never before. When he's in town, he indicated that that the plaintiff should obey if Laurinaitis wanted to bring in yet more men. There is a text message of that. We're not going to get into that or read it at the moment. She was promised the role of vice president of some department, but then in order to avoid suspicion of a sudden promotion, they decided they weren't going to actually give her that job. As soon as she began working directly for this Laurinaitis guy, the forcible touching and overtly sexual behaviors became part of daily life when he was in the office. On numerous occasions, she was directed to visit him at his hotel before work to serve herself to him as breakfast, and she felt like she was being pimped out as an object for sexual gratification for her new boss. Upon information belief, the corporate funds from the WWE were used to finance the hotel stays when these coerced sexual encounters occurred. So she was having to show up before work hours to serve herself to the man as breakfast. It's nasty. It's nasty. Ugh. Then she would report these interactions back to her pimp, to Vince after the interactions. The arrangement with him made her miserable and enraged. In her years of experience with McMahon, she knew her request to stop would be ignored or be used to destroy her career at worst. Ms. Grant was further left feeling isolated by colleagues and surveilled by top-level employees, entirely in the hands of this man. Then she then he's making her like hook up with somebody at work. And then he basically says like, well, if word gets out, your job's on the line. So panicked that someone else's mistake could cost her livelihood, she was left to feel helpless and afraid of what might happen. And she told him, I don't want to hook up with this Laurinaitis guy no more. Then basically this, I'm not going to get into the details of this at this moment, but more incidents kept happening. And then he starts showering her in gifts, $15,000 card, began to belittle her in front of colleagues. That wasn't Vince, that was Laurinaitis. Extreme uncertainty and fear. Okay. Then there's this whole other section about how they began trying to recruit this WWE superstar guy. I don't know who this is. Maybe some of y'all know. Leave in the comments if you do. But she began to recruit him for an encounter. Sorry. Vince was trying to basically make this star pretty much sorry, I lost my train of thought. Trying to make this WWE star like renegotiate and sign a new contract. And as a part of the signing deal, he was like, it was a honeypot. Like he was like sending this girl or trying to. That's what the allegations are. It's like in order to secure the contract with this guy, or maybe, yeah, it was a guy. Yeah, because he was talking about that type of thing. He was doing all this fantasies and stuff to describe his fantasy of seeing her engaged in unmerciful acts. Vince McMahon told her he wanted to see her in an act with this man during which he would he wanted to have her under a new contract. He wanted to have him under a new contract with the WWE. He likes what he sees. Then they go for a business dinner, but the guy ended up getting too drunk to effectuate, to consummate, right? Later that evening, McMahon recounted the story about his dinner with the star, and he sought to salvage the night with a request to role play an encounter where McMahon would act as if he was the WWE superstar. He was so physically rough with the lady during this encounter. She begged him to stop numerous times, screamed loud cries of help, I'm serious, I'm scared. Among other things, he did all kinds of stuff I'm not going to name. It caused her to break down weeping and curl into the fetal position with her arms pulled up to protect her face. McMahon alternated between slaps and shoves before admitting, quote, I'm really effing with you right now, left and right tonight, huh? Then he wouldn't let her leave. Forbid her from leaving the condo that night unless she could verbally assure him there wasn't a problem and everything between them was okay. Notably, he made no effort to check on her well-being after she left his condo. So he's like, are we good? Are we good? You're not going to tell anybody, right? You're not telling anybody, right? Okay, fuck, you can leave. And then when she left, he never checked on her. This part is the worst part of the whole thing to me. It's so nasty. Where's my water? I don't have it. That night. Oh, no, this is August. That night that he secured the deal with the superstar, he did end up re-signing the contract. Vince texted the lady and said, quote, I want to drive you lower and lower. So low, you might beg me to sell you. I want to drive you so low, you might beg me to sell you. Thank you, Amber, for super chat. Yes, let the woman. It's nasty. Something's wrong with it. He continued to advertise a sexual encounter with her to the superstar during the formal negotiation of a new booking contract. Look, here's what so-and-so said after I told him part of the deal was you. LOL, that's your turf. She'll be ruined after me and leave you. Your tool won't fit anymore. During the business negotiation contracts. Hello? He told the superstar She'll do anything requested of her. He's been grooming. The days that followed, the superstar revealed a fetish to her and tested her. That do anything theory with a request that she send a video of herself doing a certain thing. Unable to even recognize herself, she went numb and obeyed. The superstar informed her if she had not complied with the request, he would have lost any interest and called her a B word. The same month, the superstar expressed to the plaintiff that he wanted to set a play date and have an encounter. But a snowstorm happened and then there was COVID and all that. So then basically he's telling her not to tell anything. They're entering into NDA negotiations, and essentially basically the contract negotiations end up almost falling apart. And she does have a lawyer, but the lawyer was actually recommended and referred from the celebrity doctor. And if you remember, the celebrity doctor owned the clinic where the guy where they had the poop threesome with worked. So I'm not really sure I trust his lawyer referral. But even though she did have a lawyer, she didn't get to make any revisions at all. And I'm looking at y'all's comments. She did not get to make any revisions at all. All she got to do was sign it. And it was like she was being pressured and all that. Then he said he was going to pay her a lump sum. And that's what they agreed to. The lump sum never happened. He started making payments. Then he stopped making payments. So now they're all up in the court with all that. How to break a human mind. It's very that. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Anyway, so right after this, in 11 minutes, I'm going to be going live on Prim's podcast. We're going to be talking about the Baltimore Bridge. We're going to be talking about P. Diddy updates. And we're going to be talking about the new law in Florida that was signed in yesterday by DeSantis about now kids can't have social media under the age of 14. We're going to be talking about all of that. So the Prim podcast is linked in the description box below. Maybe one of the mods could drop it in here and we can all just meander over to that. Let's see. Do y'all have any questions? Oh, is it a 16 pound just free? No, it's scary. Yeah, horrible. Like, I mean, listen, innocent until proven guilty. These are some pretty egregious allegations. He did step down from the company. A lot of the board of directors changed in September, and The Rock came onto the board. I'm wondering who it is. Where's Chris? Chris was telling me some stuff on Instagram. Now I forget what I was gonna. So here's Prim's channel. I was gonna ask you something, Chris. What was I talking about? Oh, is there any chatter on who it is? Who is the WWE superstar? He had renegotiated his contract right in like August or September or whatever it was, like last year. This is it. Streets are saying, a lot of streets are saying, this ain't the worst thing he's ever done. Somebody said on Instagram, this is the tip of the iceberg of how deranged and depraved this man is. And it's like, I could believe that, because to get to the point where you are squatting over somebody's head and doing that over it, you done some stuff else before. That ain't a first time. Let me just try it out just to see type of activity. Oh, y'all are saying Brock Lesnar. Let me look up a picture of him. Am I saying his name right? It does sound like he was. Oh my God. Oh my word. This man is a mutant. Oh my no. Oh my God. So this is the guy that Vince was pretending like to be during their role play where he physically harmed her. The assault, the battery. This is the one that said he had said he wanted to have a play date with this victim, this man. Yeah, no, depraved. I think they all are possessed by demons. I really do. The doctor sounds like Dr. Drew. I do wonder. He is a mutant. Y'all are funny. But yeah, this is This is no shade to the WWE fans out here because, you know, like I said, I could probably even go to an event and even some part of me would have fun. It's more about like when you are looking at this stuff on like television, the entertainment aspect of it, you're thinking, "Oh, this isn't real. The guy's playing a character. He's playing a act." But then when you read these allegations, it's like, "Oh no, he's like a demon possessed clown." So married to Sable, who previously also settled a lawsuit against WWE regarding feces. Stop. Sable also dated. Wasn't there, Chris? Help me out here. Wasn't there a sketch or a skit or whatever that they played out where somebody told Vince that's why you have to pay Sable to have with you because nobody else, you're so ugly, nobody else would do it, and like Sable was. Did Sable get sold? Like, what is the feces lawsuit with her? Stop it. Sable, WWE. Stop. Stop. These people are sick. TheSportster.com. People have admitted that she's telling the truth. X-Pac, in particular, admitted on her last day in the WWE, he defecated in her bag while doing an interview for Cave. These people are demons. They're demonic. Something's wrong with them. Something is wrong with them. Oh my God, this is disgusting. Ew. Okay. I'll see you all in 5 minutes on Prim's channel. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.